Okay, terrific. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to go over 2025 myths and facts and then have a nice Q&A afterwards for up to 40 minutes. All right, so hopefully that will be really great for everybody. Okay, so if you do not know us, I am Valerie Sayer, owner of Nutrition Connection Balance since 2005. This is on our beautiful beach property here in Florida. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian nutritionist. I also have advanced certified exercise medical specialty. I'm an international marketing director, and I also am a Reiki master since 2003, which is a hands-on healing that helps with medical issues as well as multiple other things. So I'm really passionate about my work. We love working with patients. And I also want Kent to introduce himself because he's been at our practice part-time for the last 2.5 years already. You probably have heard from him or seen some videos, I hope, because he's doing a great job. And it's really nice when we have fresh new brains added to our collection. And now I've got someone to collaborate with, so that's been fun. And then he went full-time this year. And so he'll be in charge of all the clinics except for the adrenal and the hormone clinics and some of the advanced stuff. And then I'm always overseeing things and working with Kent. And like I said, he's brought a lot of great new things. If you haven't looked at our Instagram or our Facebook or our YouTube, you'll see lots of new things. And we also should have our new website up within a week that we've been working on for months, that you'll be able to order clinics on, and eventually all the supplements. We have the top 25 first. It's going to take us probably another month to get them all up there. It's quite a feat, but that way people can really, find and do what they need. So Kent, do you want to introduce yourself too, please?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Kent. I am in charge of clinics at NCB. A little bit of my background, I have a background in personal training. I have a bachelor in psychology. I studied in Copenhagen, furthering that psychology with a little bit of cognition and communication. And I'm also a certified nutrition coach. So health, fitness, nutrition, all of that is my passion. And what I really enjoy about working with the clinics at NCB is that it's kind of like problem solving in a way. People have a variety of issues. Sometimes you don't know where it's coming from, and it's really satisfying to help people.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a really, really fun. Sometimes I forget how much we know and how many patients I've seen, and like, oh my gosh, this happened 5 years ago with this. Maybe it's this, and then again, fresh eyes with all the studying he's been doing too is really helpful. So you get two for the price of one. So it's a good thing. So you'll get to know Kent a little bit here today with some of the myths and questions. So first of all, should you exercise in the morning, fasting, or should you eat? And most people say you should fast. That is absolutely not true. So the research is very clear on, now let me just say before I go into the research, always do what you're comfortable with. We're talking about science. So if you want to further really advance your thinking and your performance and your results, then that's what this is for. So what they show is if you eat a light meal 20 to 30 minutes before exercise and up to 60 minutes before, and about 25% protein, about 53 grams of carbs, and it could be lower, it could be as little as 25 if you're 5 feet, 5 feet 2 or 3, and then good fats, about 22 grams of fats. Don't make that too difficult. Okay, I'll give you a few examples at the end that you can, understand what that means. But you actually burn more fat and calories over 24 hours if you've eaten. So my gosh, we want the full benefit, right? Not just while we're exercising, but we want that after effect to help our metabolic rate. Because when you burn fat, we're talking about fat that's really important because body fat is more important than weight unless you're morbidly obese because of the fat around your organs and how that affects metabolic processes. So, for example, some of the good things to eat would be maybe get some organic oats, soak them in Juice Plus, or there's multiple different types of proteins we have at the office, plant proteins, whey protein, combination proteins. We really like the Juice Plus Complete because it's got research and it's 6 different plant proteins and it has immune and other things around it. But still, you can still make the shake with water or almond milk or a protein milk, add it to the oats, soak it for 10 minutes. That's what I do while I'm making my shakes and my lunch for the day. And then right there, you could add some organic blueberries, or you could add a few nuts or some avocado. Incredible, incredible, incredible meal. So that's just one example. You could also do a smoothie with any of the proven proteins, and we'll keep saying proven and safe and not contaminant free. When Kent goes into one of the slides, you'll understand that. But you could have nut butters, avocado, guacamole. So you could do things and make it, whether it's a 200, calorie smoothie or a 500 calorie smoothie. And those aren't too filling. You can also make a protein pancake. My favorite recipe is a third cup of the Juice Plus, which is 1 packet or 1 scoop, a third cup of a protein almond milk, a third cup of egg whites, and then you just mix it all up. And then I add organic blueberries. It's the favorite. And then you make it like a pancake. It is delicious, absolutely delicious. And I use chocolate and vanilla. You would think vanilla would be better, but I love the chocolate. And then you could do something like 6 egg whites or 1 whole egg and 6 egg whites, veggies, and a half a cup of organic fruit, something like that. So that would be an example of being fed. Now, if you get a stomach ache, then have a light meal and wait an hour, but don't wait longer than that and then go exercise. Now, if you're going to exercise and taking a 15-minute walk, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a real workout, which is very intense for 30 minutes or more or an hour or more. Okay. So you want to eat if you want the highest metabolic benefit to burn fat up to 24 hours, which is pretty amazing. And that was an International Journal of Sports Nutrition and Exercise Metabolism. All right. So hopefully that was exciting to you. It's exciting to me. All right. So, but you guys, for those of you who don't know me, I get excited over really important things because, hey, every edge we need, we need, right? Especially as we get older. And, when you work hard to stay healthy or fit, man, you want every edge you can get. So how about the second thing, the best way to reduce a risk of a stroke? So this is very specific. This is shocking to me that we don't do this. Every single doctor should be doing this by age 20 and certainly age 50 and above every year. That you measure highly sensitive CRP, highly sensitive reactive protein. They usually just mark it as HSCRP. There's also cardio CRP. And so those are both the same thing. It's just some labs call it different. What we don't want is the regular CRP. Okay. And so, but that's still better than nothing if that's all the doctor will do. But we want to keep it below 0.8. And the reason is then the risk is the lowest. When you start getting every point above, even get to 1, your risk goes up for a stroke. It also goes up for all of the top 10 diseases. This is a marker we do at NCB through a finger stick. And again, if you want your doctor to do it and have them help you, you can do that. But again, we have had numerous people that we've known and friends of friends that have had strokes recently. It's also very common in young people. It's very common in young people. There's famous tennis females that have had strokes, all sorts of blood clots. These are all interrelated to that highly sensitive CRP. And you can see by this line, every 0.01, it goes up, your risk for stroke goes up, period. Okay. Now, remember, highly sensitive CRP could be high if you just had a surgery or you've had a serious injury. Then don't get alarmed. Okay. But you still want to get it down as fast as possible. Okay. So you want it below 0.8. Some other ways to lower your C-reactive protein is make sure that you get your omega index between 10 and 12. That means the essential fatty acids. That is by far one of the most important clinics anyone should do every age. I'm amazed we don't have hundreds of men in these. That could save a heart attack by 80%. Any cardiovascular disease could be up to prevented a first event if you have an omega index 10 to 12%. Why aren't people testing this? It's a very simple finger stick. I know some of you here have had it. It's a very, very long, detailed report. Kent will tell you it's easy to us now, but it's a lot of data we have to look at. But it's very, very helpful. You want an anti-inflammatory diet, which means low processed sugar, low saturated fat, low alcohol. And if you're a female, you want your body fat under 32%. And if you're a male, you want it under 25%. And you can do that on a scale these days that you can get that measures both. Okay. And then, of course, high-risk medical conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, anyone with gut issues, infections, type 1 prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, anyone with anxiety increases risk of stroke, smoking, inadequate fruit and vegetables, and we already talked about essential fatty acids. Those are those omega-3. But instead of saying omega-3s, we say we want to get your index 10 to 12 because that's the key. It's not just taking omega-3s. Okay. All right, so now you know how to lower your risk of a stroke, what marker to do, and what things that you can do to help with that. Okay, well, let's try that. Okay, Ken, your turn.
So on the left here, you can see a list of produce. This is a question we get a lot. I want you to ask yourself, what do these foods have in common? We know them all. We probably have eaten them in the last week. This is the Dirty Dozen list from Environmental Working Group. So what these foods have in common is that they are the most contaminated with pesticides in 2024. So pesticides are chemicals used on crops to kill weeds, bugs, and rodents. These 12 are the most contaminated. Now, there are many types of pesticides, but glyphosate is the most commonly used. Glyphosate has been also found on wheat products like pasta, cereal, and pizza, oat products, soybean products, and corn products. So it's on a lot of food. And this matters because glyphosate increases cytokines, which are inflammatory. It's correlated with death from brain disease like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Huntington's, and ALS. And of course, the big one, it's linked to cancer, as well as DNA damage and estrogen impairment. So a lot of bad things. So whether you're cooking it for yourself or if you're making it for your kids, it's something that you don't want on your plate. So the question is, what can you do about it? Number one, you can buy organic produce from the Dirty Dozen list. This helps reduce the amount of pesticides that are allowed on the crops. That is what organic means in this case. Number two, you can look for the glyphosate-free label. That's this green circle label. I've put a picture here on the screen so you know what that looks like. And number three is testing. So we do offer glyphosate testing and other toxin testing. And the benefit of doing this, you find out if you have toxicities, and then you can go through individualized detox therapies. So for something like glyphosate that is poisonous, it is especially relevant for you if you have unexplained symptoms, because a lot of times toxins will cause things and then we don't know why I'm coughing or why I have headaches or a bunch of other things. So if that sounds like you, then some of the testing or some of the buying the organic produce is something that I would consider.
Yeah, and Ken will go over a little bit later, the NSF that also looks for glyphosate, and that's on one of the lists that they test for, and so it's super important. And you can also grow tower garden. If you've been to our office, we've had one there for 16 years. That's pesticide free, just a hydroponic growing. And then I also have one next to our refrigerator, and that's what we cut all our lettuce from tonight for a salad. So there you go. Thank you, Ken. All right. Oh, you get to go again.
Another question is, what is the happiness hormone and what is the motivation hormone? So my background is in psychology, so this is very exciting for me. We're going to start with the left with serotonin. So serotonin is largely responsible for happiness. It's known as the happiness hormone. It's produced 90% in the gut and 10% in the brain. So you've probably heard gut health is all the rage on social media right now, and that is very rightfully so, in my opinion. Serotonin is also involved with moods, sleep, headaches, and libido. Natural ways to increase your serotonin include optimal vitamin D3, exercising if you've ever had or heard of a runner's high. This is a temporary boost in brain chemicals, one of which is serotonin. Getting enough sunshine is very important. And I mentioned gut health. So what you eat really matters for your mental health. So in this case, avoiding foods that make you bloated, gassy, or constipated. And probiotics are also very useful, but it's important to get ones that are high quality. And that's something that we have plenty of at the office. Now, on the other hand, at the bottom, decreasing your serotonin, chronic stress can do that very well. Research from 2023, very exciting, found that chronic stress can cause tryptophan, which is another neurotransmitter, to be converted less into serotonin and more into inflammatory acids. So what this does is it links chronic stress with mood disorders, which is something that a lot of people deal with. I know that was very quick. Now we're going to look at the right side, which is motivation. And the answer to that, what is the motivation hormone, is dopamine. So if you're having trouble with motivation, here are some natural ways to increase your dopamine. The first four are the same as serotonin. So optimal D3, exercise, sunshine, and getting your gut health perfected. Another thing, this list of foods here at the bottom is from the Cleveland Clinic. These foods are high in tyrosine, which is another neurotransmitter that's converted into dopamine. You can take a screenshot of this if you'd like. This is just another easy way. If you're eating all of these already, which most of us probably are, then we're good to go. Now, just like with the glyphosate, if you're having issues with happiness or motivation, we do recommend testing your levels. This way we can see if things are too high, too low, or just right, or if you even need to be increasing your serotonin and dopamine in the first place. Because for some of us, maybe there's something else that's an issue. We have mental health testing, vitamin D3 testing, which I mentioned is very important for both of these, and also testing for gut health like food sensitivity. So if you're dealing with mental health issues, let us know and we can give you more information on that.
Yeah, awesome, Kent. Yeah, I think it's our most underutilized clinic by far because pretty much half the US has anxiety disorder, sleep disorders, inflammatory disorders, and depression disorders. So even if you're deciding that you've been on an antidepressant for a long time or an anti-anxiety medication, why wouldn't you test first, even see how well it's working or if it needs adjusted? So it really does make sense. So that's terrific. So hopefully you guys are writing down your questions. So what's the quickest way for a woman to get into a nursing home and not be able to get out? It's a fracture, a bone fracture. So this is why a bone density is so important, a DEXA scan, a bone density test. And how you recognize if you have softening of the bones, which is osteopenia, is that you look for a T-score, and it's a -1 to -2.5. And then the T-score of -2.51 or greater is osteoporosis. I go the whole shebang when I teach people how to improve their bone density when it's a -2 and above, because once you already get to osteoporosis, my first goal is to just maintain you. Then 2 to 5 years later, increase it. It's not a very easy thing to do. So one of the things that people do is that doctors often don't even test this very often anymore because they only have one thing to offer, and that's biophosphate medications. They reduce your ability to produce collagen. They cause a degradation and a falling apart of your jaw and bones and your femur. You have atypical fractures that happen with these medications. You get bone pain. You can get reflux that can actually cause death. And that is on all the prescriptions websites. It can cause very severe GI issues, high cortisol, and AFib. So the thing about it is that I don't have to hide what I say anymore about it. Years ago, when Chicago Herald interviewed me, I had to be careful. But once even Fosamax came out and they started to show all the warnings, it's just the way it is. So you have to understand the doctor only has these to offer, and they're not very good. And even what happens, if it does increase your bone density, it makes the outside matrix harder. The inside is like mush. So if and when you have a fracture, it's worse. You also cannot be on the medication more than 5 years. Well, if you're 55 years old, hopefully you're going to live till 80 or 90. Well, what are you supposed to do then? Right? So it's really important. And you're going to hear a theme, right? When you start paying attention, even with just this short lecture today, vitamin D3 is #1 for reducing your bone fractures. Minerals, essential fatty acids, keeping your highly sensitive CRP or inflammatory marker under 0.8, more of an alkaline system. Acidity causes more bone issues. And when we talk about acidity, it's dark green vegetables. That's it. You can read all these other things in books on alkalinity, acidity. It's not true. Only dark green vegetables make anybody's body more alkaline. Of course, having a gut health that's healthier, then that's less acidic, right? When there's less reflux and so on. So very, very important. They also show that lean protein. The older you get, the more protein you need. Now, I'm not saying that you have to eat red meat because I'm not a red meat fan after a certain age, but it's 0.7 grams to 1 gram per pound. So if you're 150 pounds, for example, that should say a 1 in there, 105 grams to 150 grams a day. And if you say, well, I don't know what that means, well, 1 ounce of chicken is about 7 grams. So like my hand's a 4 ounce hand. So that's about 28 grams. 105 to 150. The older we get, the less protein we eat. It's exactly the opposite. And all protein are made of amino acids. Besides the bones, guess what else it does? It affects every one of those mental health markers that Kent was just talking about. Dopamine, serotonin, and of course, there's many, many more. There's 26 we actually measure. Strength training is another important part, but I have personal trainers in their 30s that have had multiple fractures and osteopenia and osteoporosis. So strength training isn't enough. We're in a physical biochemical body. You have to have the substrates, the protein, the omegas, the vitamin D for it to work. The only reason I didn't mention vitamin K is almost all of my patients are on Juice Plus, and vitamin K are in the Juice Plus. So you don't have to take a separate K. K gets a little funny because a lot of companies put too much in and they really can cause bruising and different things. And there's also different forms of K. So we're not going to go through all that, but most of our patients are on Juice Plus, so we don't have to worry about that. We give them straight D because they're already getting it from the food source, from their Juice Plus. Things that are also helpful outside of those basic things are rebounders, little trampolines, vibrational therapies, but only up to 10 minutes. We have people that are going to these places, they're doing an hour and so on. They show actually it's not good for your nervous system, your neurotransmitters, or other things in your body. So we're talking up to 10 minutes. That's it, a few times a week. Balance exercises like on the Bozo ball, and then posture. We're amazed when John and I go to sporting events, and this is what people look like, even young people. And of course, part of that's the phones and all that. You've got to have good posture. All I do is watch people and try to sit up better because it's just shocking. Posture matters to your bone health. And of course, there's many other proven therapies. We do a hair tissue test, we do a urine mineral test, so we can look at all these other minerals. When I sometimes work with someone older, if they absolutely don't want to test, a lot of times, my patients have parents in the 80s to up to 90s, and we'll do something like the bone builder pack where they can just take 2 packs a day and it's got everything they need in there. So there's always things if you don't want to test to try to do some of these things, but then again, there are always options, and you can call our office if you need some help with that from somebody. Okay, so again, fastest way to get in a nursing home and stay as a woman is have a fracture, and we're talking any age. Okay, all right, Kent.
Another question we get often is, what can I do about hair thinning and hair loss? I am reaching the ripe old age of almost 30, and a few of my friends are already dealing with hair loss. It's not fun. A lot of people are frustrated by it, and it can be really challenging to stop. So here I've listed some markers that directly affect our hair. Number one, vitamin D3. You've heard that one before. It is essential for hair follicle growth. Next is DHEA, which is a hormone precursor for testosterone and estrogen. Estradiol affects hair growth and hair thickness. HSCRP, which you've heard before, is an inflammatory marker tied to a lot of health conditions, including hair loss. Testosterone affects hair follicles. Cortisol is related to stress, which can also affect hair loss. And minerals and toxic metals play a role too. So minerals like zinc, selenium, and iron promote strong hair, and toxicities like heavy metals can disrupt hair growth. Now, when I mention all of these markers, I'm not saying that everyone should go and increase all of them, because in some cases, increasing it higher than is ideal can also have the same negative effect as when it's too low. So the common theme is that we recommend testing these things. So if hair loss is a concern of yours, I'd recommend checking out our hair testing clinic.
And you heard again, two things, right? Over and over. Which two? Hopefully you got it. D3, highly sensitive CRP. So we're not just talking about looking good, but we're talking about a stroke. We're talking about bones. We're talking about a lot of things. So you can see, if you've heard me speak before, why I go over and over and over. Essential fatty acids in testing, vitamin D in testing, and the Juice Plus, right? All right, great. Okay, are supplements safe, Kent?
Are supplements safe? The answer that everybody loves to hear is it depends. In some cases, yes, and in other cases, no. So, for supplements, you see a supplement at the store, you think, oh, it has to be safe. They're selling it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be allowed to sell it. And that is simply not the case. So, shockingly, the FDA does not evaluate supplements before they hit the shelves. Instead, it's on the manufacturer to follow the FDA guidelines, and then the FDA can investigate afterwards if necessary. But at this point, people have already bought the product. If there's no evaluation before it's sold, supplements can be contaminated, mislabeled, or ineffective. Here is some pretty shocking research. 2019 study tested 272 supplements and found that more than half of them were mislabeled. Also in 2019, 300,000 containers of supplements were seized by the FDA for containing lead, which we all know is very bad, highly toxic. And just last month, December 2024, a weight loss supplement was recalled for containing a toxic herb. So, the point of saying all of this is that we have to be very specific with which supplements we're putting into our body. So that leads to what should you do? Number one, we recommend supplements that are third-party tested. An example of this is the NSF standard. Third-party testing does two things. The first, it verifies the ingredients. This means that what's on the label is actually in the product. And the second is that it tests for contaminants. So contaminants could be toxic metals, bacteria, pesticides, mold, in some cases banned substances, especially for athletes. So next, you've gotten the third-party testing. You know that's what you should look for. We also, of course, recommend working with a professional. So at NCB, this is exactly what we do. We do all of the testing, like glyphosate, mental health, hair loss, some of the things I mentioned before. And this way, we know exactly what supplements and what doses to recommend for you. So this way, you're only taking what you need, which is important for your health, but also you're not wasting money on things that are unnecessary or ineffective. So all of our testing is done at home. If you want more information on that, you know where to find it. Valerie?
Yeah, awesome. All right, so now you've learned more, right? All right, you guys are getting super smart, right? Okay. How about how to lower lipids? Lipids are cholesterol, LDL, and so on. And this comes up constantly. So first, you all know that stroke is a cardiovascular disease. So what should you do? Measure your highly sensitive CRP. But when we look, what we find is that 50% of people that die on the spot have low cholesterol. So every time someone looks at someone with high cholesterol, that isn't the issue. It's what are the lipid sizes? Is there plaque? Is it oxidized? What's their lipoprotein A? What's their homocysteine level? What's their hemoglobin A1C? So all these other things are actually what help us figure out if you're high risk for any kind of cardiovascular disease. It is not the cholesterol. It's super basic. It's a starting point, but again, if you hear 50% of people die and they have low cholesterol, including athletes, that tells you something right there. There's also, if we're not sure your LDL or cholesterol triglycerides are high, then you want to do more advanced testing to know, are you at immediate risk? Do you need to just change diet, or do you need to do multiple different things? There's a genetic test we do called SLIM. And if you're not familiar with DNA and genetic testing, you only have to do them once ever. So it's a real bargain. But the SLIM tells us how you metabolize certain fats, carbohydrate, protein, and so on. So it tells us a lot more, because people say, oh, I genetically have high cholesterol. I've only had one person ever that we couldn't get down their lipids, ever. So it's just not true. You may have a propensity, but again, many things cause high cholesterol. Do you know that every adrenal hormone and every sex hormone, estradiol, estrone, cortisol, DHA, are all in the pathways of cholesterol? They're steroid molecules. So it's not just diet, it's also hormone balance. So it's very, very important. So that's why hormones are on the list. Foods, you want to eat lower saturated fats and fake fats called trans fatty acids. You can't just look on the nutrition facts label. You have to look at the ingredients, and you want to avoid anything that says fractionated or hydrogenated, because the body doesn't even recognize it. You want to make sure that the omega-6s are lower than the 3s. This is a question I get all the time, because I have patients that will want to do all these seeds and chias and different oils that are seed oils. And the answer is no, no, and no, because it lowers your good omega-3s. That causes more inflammation. That causes more heart disease. causes more autoimmune disease, causes more pain, causes higher C-reactive protein. If you want to eat nuts and seeds, eat them raw, have small amounts, and I prefer you stay away from all the other stuff. All the hemp, all the chia seeds. You have it once in a while, that's fine. And if you do flax, I recommend ground lignin, flax organic with lignans and only a teaspoon and no more than 2 teaspoons a day. The lignans are really great for anti-cancer and fiber, but you don't want it suppressing your omega-3s. You also, when you have high cholesterol or lipids, you want to get 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. The average American eats under 10. That's why I always start breakfast with 10 to 15, because how are you going to get it if you don't start your day with high fiber? And then there's other treatments that we can do, but we need to know your lipids or lipid sizes and your inflammation. There's statins that are medications. Those statins cause liver damage in 1 in 3 people. They cause odd pain all over the body, 1 in 3 people. It lowers coenzyme Q10, which is vital for aging and energy, and increases the risk of actually your heart being weaker. So that is 1 in 3 chance for all those things on any statin. Red yeast rice, it's about 1 in 15,000. It's not no risk, but way less. CoQ10, essential fatty acids, fiber, and then we have things like cardiovascular wellness, bergamot. Some people have a reaction to red yeast and any kind of markers that are like in the statin family, even the natural. So there's other things that we can do. The Juice Plus and Complete also, the Complete has 7 grams of fiber, and then the Juice Plus has cardiovascular studies, including lipids. So there are things that you can do, but you really got to know more than just your cholesterol level. You've got to know your highly sensitive CRP. You should know your homocysteine, and we have many metabolic panels for those things. And again, our biggest risk after the age of 50 is a cardiovascular event, and men are the highest risk. Men are born with a risk. Women develop the risk. So it's very, very important to know more. All right. So there you go. All right, we went over 10 facts and myths. I hope you learned a lot. So let's go ahead and anyone that has questions, take off your microphone, say hello, say where you're from. Please say your name in case we don't recognize you. I had some people on here I haven't seen for years, so that was nice. Luckily, I still recognized you, and then, please ask your question. Try to remember, don't make it too personal. Please don't make it too long. So in fairness, everyone can ask their questions. All right. All right. Hopefully no one's shy. Come on. That's why you're on here. And you don't have to ask about the topics we talked about. You can ask about other things also.
Hi there. This is
Hi.
Megan
Hi,
from
Megan.
Chicago. Hi.
Wonderful.
I just was wondering about the eating before working out. So
Yeah.
I work out around 5:30, 6
Yep.
a.m.
Yep.
And I'm not hungry,
Yeah.
but I obviously want to optimize the benefits of the
Yeah.
workout. So do you
Yeah.
still recommend to eat if I'm waking
You.
up?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. When we were talking about that with the one of the researchers, a lot of people that work full time, and I was one of those even when I was younger, when my kids weren't out of the home. I mean, I either worked out late or I got up very early, even 4:30 sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
They still show the same thing. The thing about it is that when it's that early and you're not hungry, quit eating by 6 o'clock at night, if possible, or eat a really light dinner. And also you can do something like even half a smoothie. You don't have to have a whole one. You
Okay.
can also try sometimes when I worked with long distance runners or like endurance athletes, we'll do like half a mandarin orange and then a few bites, a few sips of protein powder, or they'll do something like a hard boiled egg they already have made the night before. And just so again, they get some food in, without regurgitating and that type of thing. You do have to kind of experiment with what works when you get up early, but you definitely want to still try some different things that are lighter.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great
Is it
question.
okay to do the perform? I know I've been doing
Absolutely.
the perform after my
Yeah,
workout, but if I have like
absolutely.
half before and half after, would
That's
that
perfect.
work?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's perfect. What do you mix it with, Megan?
Just water.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably okay. Just the only thing about the Perform, it's not very high in carbohydrates. So
Okay.
before I'm not so worried, but definitely after, when you have that half Perform, you might want to have something with some carbohydrates. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
whether it's a fruit, whether it's, a whole grain Ezekiel, organic or organic oats, we just All remember oats and grains have glyphosate, so we want to be careful what we're getting. But those are some of the other possibilities.
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome, Megan. All right, next.
Okay, hi, Lynette.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Lynette.
So, couples of the hemp hearts, because we've been eating the hemp hearts because it has protein in it. So I was trying to get that in my yogurt, or like because I use the glyphosate-free oats, the sprouted oats.
Yes.
But then they don't have a lot of protein, so I try to add it with nuts. But then I thought, hey, we had the hemp hearts because that's like a bunch of protein. But I guess it's not good. Huh? But we would do like a couple.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once a week or something would be okay, but that's where when I do my oats, I put my protein shake in it. It's delicious, by the way. And I don't soak it overnight.
Yeah, I seen that. It's like I didn't think about doing that. So
It's really good. So I actually have my whole shake, and I put probably only this much in there, and they soak, and I only soak it 10 minutes while I'm making, my husband's shake or packing my lunch for the day. So it's not like I let it sit there for half an hour. I mean, it's quick. And
okay.
even with a hard workout, I have no problem when I eat that at all, which is awesome.
Okay, well that's a good thing to do.
Another option. Yeah.
Other one was for the bone health, like I've heard like the rebounders and the vibration. There's like mixed results on that, on whether that actually does.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Those are just other things that in addition to strength training,
Right.
that you can't just do rebounder or the plank.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even the vibrational therapy, there was just a researcher that I had done a continuing ed with. He said there is a lot of misinformation. You
Yeah.
could be doing it. He said, you even when it has people on it once or twice a week, they don't do ever more than 10 minutes. It
Yeah.
actually can affect your nervous system and some other things. So we're just saying if there's other things that you want to do with the foundational, the D, strength training, the minerals, then those are a few other things that do have some research. Part of that is a lot of people don't work out hard enough or heavy enough. And we want movement, and so when you move tissue and you rebound, just movement, and it's softer for people that, again, we don't want people to have a fracture or put themselves at risk by going out and running, So, and a lot of the rebounders have handles. And if anyone's been at my house, I have one, so you can even hold on. So there isn't a risk of falling, or very little, So, yeah. So it's a good question. Yeah. So I do not say do that instead of other things. No way. It won't work.
Yeah, but yeah, I wasn't even insinuating that, but yeah, I definitely do it.
Yeah.
We do yoga and walking, and we do free weights and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The free weights is definitely part of the key. But like I said, I have a lot of people that are personal trainers that have had fractures and osteopenia and osteoporosis before the age of 40. And that's because they don't have the D, they don't have the minerals. So that's all they do is strength train. They look great, but that's also why they're having fractures.
Okay. Yeah. Because so like the row, because we have a rowing machine, I mean, that's got resistance and stuff. So that would be good for cardio and for.
That's good for cardio, but it's really still not enough. When we're talking about bones, it has to be impactful.
Okay.
So that's why like swimming doesn't work. Rowing is good, but it's not high impactful still. Okay. That's why things like jump rope or the rebounders are closest for people that can't run or do something high impact, like, and then the best and safest is weight training, because we can use seated leg press with people in nursing homes and they can start walking. It's shocking.
Yeah.
And, they can't even get on it without a cane, but they get out and in of it 3 months later without a cane. So even someone that can barely walk can do strength training if they have the right physical therapist, the right equipment.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Akia from Cleveland, Ohio.
Hi, Akia.
I hopped on a little bit late, but I did hear great mention of vitamin D3, which I do currently take. But my question is more so relative, and I know you said not to get too personal, but I am a breast cancer survivor, and I am currently taking tamoxifen, which over time is going to definitely affect my estrogen levels. Yes. And so in relation to the bone density and the bone health, I just turned 48 last month. So I probably have a little bit of wiggle room, but again, this is something that I'm going to be taking for a little while.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm always concerned about what I can do. I
Yes.
understand the importance of the strength training and the things that I can do in terms of physical activity and movement.
Sure.
But I'm also concerned about other ways that I might be able to introduce some internal supports to help me
Absolutely.
with not just the bone density, but some other things as well. And I don't know, maybe this is a conversation that I can have with you offline.
Yeah.
But
Well,
very interested in additional ways that I can just improve
yeah.
upon what I'm
Yeah.
already doing.
Yeah. And one of the things is that if you've had breast cancer, have you had a bone density test?
I have.
Okay, good. So you need to have that. And do you have osteopenia? Can I just ask that or not?
No,
Okay,
no,
great.
as of
Great. Okay. So what's really good about that is that then that's where you can do making sure your vitamin D is between 75 and 100. I don't care how much you take, it's what your number is. So your
okay.
blood level should be between 75 and 100. And then the best test for the next thing that's more biochemical, individualized, would either be a urine sample or a hair tissue sample for the minerals, because there's multiple minerals that directly influence bone density and keeping it high. And those do not interfere with any of your medication or any of your concerns. So it keeps you out of the hormone area, but is really would be the most important thing outside of those other things we talked about. And those are on our website, or you can always call our office and Heidi can give you information about those.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Good luck.
You as well. Thank you.
All right. Who's else got a question? You had to have some questions coming in here. Come on.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Fred.
I walk to and from work sometimes. It takes me about 40 minutes to walk to get
Yes.
to work. And because I've been doing it for so long, I'm used to it. Many people have told me, Fred, if you got, I'll probably live longer than a lot of those people because I walk so much. But how helpful is walking?
Walking is extremely helpful. I mean, there's multiple benefits of walking. It's easier on the joints as we get older. Walking, there's a lot of different things you can do, but even walking, they show even affects the adrenal glands, helps balance out that DHA and cortisol. Third thing is that walking is some impact because you've got your body weight. But the other thing that's really nice about walking is if you walk after you eat, they show insulin resistance and diabetes risk goes down a huge amount. So anytime I have a larger meal, I will always try to walk. So those are all some of the benefits. The thing about it is when you keep walking and doing the same thing, it's still better than nothing. Always, I tell people, always movement's better than nothing, even if it's not ideal. And walking's very good for you. But one of the things is that when you always are just walking, there are other things you can do to bring it up a level. There's things called rucking vests that are actually weighted, and that also puts weight on you. Now, we're not talking about holding weights. That causes imbalances. That is not what we recommend. But they actually have weighted vests called rucking vests, and they're not that expensive, and you can get those. One of the things I teach people, if they're on a budget, you don't have to get a rucking vest. Get a backpack, and you can put books in there, or you could put a gallon jug in there, and you've got 8 pounds on your back. But making sure, your, again, posture is good, that it's not too heavy. And rucking vests have weights that you can put in different weights, but that helps with more impact. Also, if you're somewhere where you can do hills or you can walk faster than slower, challenge yourself. All of those make a difference to your cardiovascular system and your bone density. But always walking is good. I say the older you get, the more you should walk, in addition to everything else. The problem is when people ask me, I say, sorry, the older we get, we have to do all 3 things: stretch or some kind of yoga, Pilates, stretching. We've got to do strength training. We got to keep our heart healthy. So there's not an easy way around it, but rucking vests or a backpack with some weight in it, or hills, or walking fast and slow would be another whole advancement, Fred, that would be great for you.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. All right. Kathleen, go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of for your bone strength at the gym, so are both of these or one better than the other? Like I always walk, but then there's the bike, there's elliptical. Are one of those better than the other, or just walk?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah, what I always tell people is think about what we're talking about is bones have to have, like, that's why strength training is number 1. it's putting pressure on the tissues, right? So elliptical would be better than biking. You know, so again, think about again, because you're using your body weight, right? Elliptical, either moving your hands or with this is better, right, than just up and down, right? You know, and again, you always want to be careful if you don't balance well, you know. So again, always we're trying to be safe here, you know, but always the more weight you have. That's why swimming is great for joint health and so on, terrible for bones. Swimmers have the highest body fat of any professional athlete because there's no weight. You know, so again, I'm not saying swimmers are awesome, you know, and swimming's still good for you, but you know, see what I mean? But not for the bones. Yeah.
And you like the idea of the rebounder, like 10 minutes, a couple times a
Yeah.
week?
Yeah, a few times a week. It's just another good addition that people can do. And it also helps people move, you know, and that's why a lot of times if someone doesn't have a rebounder where we teach them the Bosu ball. The Bosu ball, if you don't know what it is, it's a ball that's like flat on one side and then rounded. I don't know, Kent, if you have any, you know, thoughts on that, but again, it helps you balance because again, why do people fall? They're weak, they have weak muscles and they lose their balance. So the
Is there
Bosu ball.
any benefit in yoga? I'm sorry, yoga for bone health?
Not really. There is for, again, balance though, because again, one of the things that, again, if you fall and you have low bone density, that's what causes the fracture, right? So again, balance, you know, yoga is great for balance and it's great for muscle strength, you know, movement and everything, but not so much. Now there are like Ashtanga where they do sun salutations that are very intense and you're using your body. You're actually doing push-ups and so on, but it's most people are not doing that level that I see. So,
All right, thank you.
yeah. All right.
Hi, Valerie. This is Thea from Ohio.
Oh, hi, Thea. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I was wondering, so if you're supposed to be doing the low carbs, that would mean like cut out the oats in the morning for your workout and
No,
all
no,
that.
because even there with low carb, even an extremely low carb diet is 26 grams of carbs. That's the minimum. And I would not have someone do 26 every day. So when you do like a third or a quarter cup of steel cut oats, you know, and then you have a protein shake in it, or, you know, some nuts and seeds and so on. I always tell people that are worried about their insulin, their hemoglobin A1C or lower carb diet, you always have carbs in the morning because you need it for energy. It's sort of like that's why you charge your cell phone, right? So it's full in the morning. So it's sort of like what people do though is they want to eat all their carbs at night, and that's not good because that's when we can't use the energy. That's when our body's insulin, you know, and I tell people if I do eat a big meal or during the holidays, I would try to have a walk afterwards. But so yeah, you remember it's the amount. And so the best time to have some carbohydrates is in the morning. Or if I have someone on a very low carb diet and they really they feel like they have to spread it out. They want a little bit of carbs in each meal. That's where you could do the egg whites and some avocado and then half a cup of fruit. Half a cup of fruit is 15 grams, except for berries. A good cup of berries is, you know, you get double the berries for 15 grams of carbs. I don't know where you went, but hopefully you can hear that. She like disappeared. Interesting. Okay. Well, if she comes back on, I don't know what happened there. All right.
I
Who's
have a
next?
question.
Okay, go ahead, Marilyn.
So,
I think-
and this I think is for Kent, but Valerie, you would know too.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There is an older woman at the gym who walks backwards. She walks forward, then she walks backwards. And I'm like doing it with her. And I said, well, why are we walking backwards? And she said, it's good for your balance. Is that true or not?
Kent, I'll let you answer that one.
No?
I think, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think it definitely can be good for balance. I don't see any downside to it. It's very specific. Like if you walk backwards often, then you're gonna get a lot out of it. But yeah, something I used to do when I was personal training in Tallahassee was I had some older clients in their 80s, and we would practice just putting one foot in front of the other, whether that's holding arms out to the sides or holding, like briefly holding onto a railing, and then go reverse. So also walking backwards, 1 foot behind the other. And you can go as narrow or as wide with your feet as you like. Narrow is obviously more challenging. But yeah, walking forwards, backwards, up, down, sideways, whatever you want to do, I see no downside to it.
Yeah, and
I thought it would make me so balanced. That's why I was doing it.
the only thing I say there is risk of falling.
Yes.
And I find people even running on the treadmill, I see them fall because you lose focus at all. It happens. So that's where just be careful. Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right, who's next? We got 8 minutes. All right, go for it, Joel.
So I have my question is about parasites,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to like purge them out of my body right now.
Okay,
And
and do you know that you have them?
well, I have MS. I'm pretty sure that's where I've got it.
Yeah. So all I can say is that when we test people, I've had the parasite is not as much as you think. It is a very low percentage. I mean, really low. And it's very popular on the internet and everywhere else. And I say, prove it. There's tests you
No,
can do that say you have parasites.
I mean, no, I was gonna say that the person doing it doesn't rely on a test. It's more about what's happening in your life.
Yeah, but that's like saying, okay, I think I'm diabetic, Joel. You know, my mom and dad were diabetic. My grandma was diabetic. I'm urinating at night. I've lost a bunch of weight. So no one would say, here's some insulin, go see how you feel. And so I'm a proponent of testing when there's things that are like that. And when we deal typically with MS, Parkinson's, ALS, and so on, it usually has to do with toxicities and other imbalances. And I've had people with parasites, but I can tell you it's a small percent. And I've had over 25,000 patients.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So
gonna say, the
that's
Lyme test. The doctor talks about the Lyme test that I'm negative on.
yeah.
And since I've learned about Lyme, I learned 900 species of Lyme.
Mm-hmm.
And the testing that we do in America is only for 9 species of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, luckily,
But there are places that test for Lyme's. Kent and I were at a very advanced conference where we learned the #1 expert in Lyme's, and there are ways to detect Lyme's. So there are people that do it, just like there are with parasites. So why I say that is people go down these rabbit holes and they don't do the foundation first. And nothing works if you don't have the body that has the foundation first. And
Right.
it's just always amazing to me. And that's the problem with, with internet and with well-meaning people is they go down these rabbit holes, but they're still eating Pop-Tarts for breakfast. They don't know what their vitamin D is. They don't have the right essential fatty acids. They're highly sensitive, CRP's high, and they wonder why they have conditions. And so we really have to still look at, are all those things in balance? And it takes a lot of work. I'm not saying it's easy. And anybody can have anything happen to them. So we got to realize that we're in the most magical, amazing computer in the whole world are our bodies. I mean, we are miracles. I'm amazed that they work the way they do, the way we abuse them, to be honest. So I really, we really try, the premise is that there are ways to identify, there's always anomalies, but most of the time when people come in, even with 20 surgeries, and I look at certain things that even before they had the surgeries, they weren't even tested right. They might not even have needed the surgeries, but they didn't know what else to do. So.
Well, I was going to say that I got certified as an FDN. And so I learned a bunch about hormones, right?
Yeah.
And so anyways, the one thing I was going to mention about that was the biggest thing I got out of that whole experience was test, don't guess.
That's correct. That's correct. Exactly. Yeah. Just like I said about insulin. Whenever I would have a doctor say, yeah, well, a woman's having hot flashes, I gave her some estrogen, or a man's not having good erections, we gave him testosterone. I'm like, I use the diabetes example because I've never had a doctor ever say they would give someone insulin without testing their blood sugar, but we do it with everything else. It makes no sense to me. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it didn't make sense even when I was younger. That's why I got into this field. I truly believe we don't individualize enough. We're all unique down to our fingerprint. Why would my sisters and I need the same things? It's ridiculous. We act different. We have different spouses. We eat different. We're different heights, right? You know, we're different. So that's where that individuality comes. That's why you hear us over and over, test, test. Do you know what your D is? Do you know what your omegas is? Do you know what your CRP is? Those are the things that could save your life first. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? We've got 4
I have a
minutes.
question.
Okay, go ahead, Colette.
Well,
I
two
think that's
quick.
Colette.
They're pretty quick.
Okay.
Could go back to what you were saying when you were talking about lowering lipids, and you felt so many people I know eat chia seeds every single day, and that was one thing I heard you say. No, no, no. Could you just explain that real quick? Why?
Yeah. So when you look at chia seeds, hemp, flax, even all, they all are plants, right? They all have good components. One, you've got to make sure they're organic and glyphosate free. Okay, number one. Number two is they're all omega-6s. Omega-6s, when you get too much, suppress omega-3s. And omega-3s, the DHA and EPA, are what lower highly sensitive CRP, lower your risk of all cardiovascular risks, all of them. The higher your 6-to-3 ratio are, the more fibromyalgia, the more autoimmune gets turned on, the lower your resilience, the lower your adrenals, the higher the cancer risk. So it's not that people shouldn't eat any, it's that they eat too much and they don't have enough omega-3s to begin with, and it suppresses their 3s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And back with the omegas, I mean, I know in the past you've recommended most women at least, or maybe everybody, to double omega blends.
Oh, so if
omega
we're talking
blend.
about the juice plus omegas without
Right.
testing, if someone's over 50 or have an inflammatory condition, you know, an autoimmune condition, fibromyalgia, highly sensitive CRP, they need at least 4 a day.
Yeah.
So people that want to stay vegan, then the juice plus omegas do bring up the DHA, a little bit of the EPA, and the omega index. It does not bring up the EPA enough. But people that want to stay plant-based or have a seafood allergy, then it is good and safe. Or if they don't test. Now, if they test, a lot of times I use a combination. Some people, the older they get, they need almost all EPA. But I hate to say that. As soon as I say that, I have someone, or Kent will have someone in the Omega clinic, and they need more DHA. That's why we test again, because those omega-3s are the keys to everything we just talked about. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. One last question. Anybody else?
This is Lynn.
Hi,
Sorry,
Lynn.
I'm not on the camera, Lynn Munson, but
Oh, hi, Lynn. Nice to hear your voice.
nice to hear you too, and see your presentation. Just really quick, I just had a question. I know you talked about the dirty dozen and things that you shouldn't, you know, like or be careful with. And but with the seasonings, is there anything that you would recommend that you should avoid? Or you know, I don't know if you mentioned that. I got on a little bit late, but is there anything
You said seasonings? Is that
like
what you
yeah,
said?
if you're going to put some sort of seasonings like in your foods, is there anything that
Oh,
you should avoid?
yeah, that's a good question, Kent. Boy, we haven't had that question. Yeah, I mean, when we buy herbs, like dried herbs at the grocery store, we get organic.
Mm-hmm.
And then on our tower garden, we have an herb garden. I don't grow herbs at home anymore unless the kids are here. And this time I didn't, because we don't use enough for the 2 of us. You know, they grow like wildfire. I mean, you know, and I wish I liked using herbs more, but I use a lot of dried herbs. I just make sure I get organic.
Okay.
Even
Yeah,
the
I mean,
dried ones. Yeah, even the regular grocery store has organic now. It's amazing. I mean, you know,
right.
it really is important. So that's a really good question.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll
All
have to
right.
look into that more, right, Ken? Because boy, we haven't had anyone ask us that. I
Okay.
Yeah,
think you have either, right? Yeah.
excellent question.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
yeah. All right.
Thanks.
Well, something else for us to look into, Lynn. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone has one last burning question, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Well, we are so glad that you guys are all with us tonight. Thank you for being there. Hope you learned some things. We are happy to have you. And we have like I said, our new website. If it's not up in the next few days, it will be within a week. We've worked on it for months, tons of free information, all sorts of stuff there. And of course, you can always call our office. It's 850-227-7931. And our website is Nutrition Connection Balance. And like I said, there's tons of free information there. We have a YouTube and Instagram. We have lots of videos there. Some are older, up to 4 or 5 years, and some are newer. Yeah. Does Steve, you got a question, or are you just waving?
I don't know if it's too late, but related to Juice Plus and the powder, the drink mix.
Oh,
Yes, yes,
Eliminate. Is there
yes.
specific time of day or application for that?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So Steve is asking about Luminate. It's the first functional drink that you can add a powder packet to water or hot water. I use mine when I work out in the morning. My husband uses it. We don't drink coffee. He uses it in the morning before he goes to work. I use it in my water bottle when I work out. So during workouts in the morning, or if you have a crash early afternoon, I tend to not recommend it late, because even though there's only 80 milligrams of caffeine, it is from the the coffee berry. So I never do caffeine. I've never drank coffee. I don't do energy drinks. I have no problem taking it. It's really helped my workouts. So during a workout morning, or if you have a crash early afternoon, I just tend to not like to have people have it after 6, or even after 4. Just, we don't want anything interrupting sleep.
Right.
But, and if you have, and up to 2 a day. So my husband often does one in the morning at work, and then he does one where, he used to crash, and we used to do an adaptogen. He just does the drink now, and he enjoys it more. So,
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Nice to see you, Steve.
Likewise.
Okay. All right, everybody. Well, Happy New Year. And again, great to see you all. Thank you, Kent. And it's nice you got to meet Kent a little bit, and be looking at our Instagram and YouTubes. All right. You guys take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.